Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report, your daily source for Black news, views, and opinions. Happy Friday. Today is June 17th, and I'm Mimi Brown.
I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo, and on today's report, the January 6th committee is plunging deeper into President Trump's attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Meanwhile, day 2 of the trial of the man accused of killing Nipsey Hussle continued, with testimony from another man who was shot that afternoon. Then, 2 white Florida men are facing criminal charges for allegedly attacking a black teen in the same town where Trayvon Martin was killed.
Plus, comedian and actress Precious Hall stops by for a look at today's hottest topics with a side eye. And Drake dropped a surprise album for his fans last night. Want to know what you think about that? We have all of that and so much more. This is our voice and our truth, so let's get it.
The January 6th committee is plunging deeper into President Trump's attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 election. According to Thursday's testimony, Trump aides and allies warned him against his plan to have former Vice President Mike Pence reject the electoral count. Now, new evidence also suggests the rioters that stormed the Capitol came within 40 feet of where Pence was hiding. There are at least 2 more hearings scheduled for the next week. And the panel also wants to hear from the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Now, Ginny Thomas was in communication with people in the former president's circle before the Capitol riot. There are also reports that she communicated with top staffers on the day of the attack. Now, Thomas says that she will comply with the committee's request for her to testify. There were so many revelations from Thursday's hearing, yesterday's hearing. I think there's a few things that stood out, but one of them was that Trump was told repeatedly that Mike Pence could not overturn the 2020 election. He was told by his chief of staff. He was advised by Pence's chief of staff, yet he continued to push for it. Even Pence himself told him that he could not overturn the election. He was told it was unconstitutional, it was illegal, and he still pushed for it. And the other big revelation is that the Capitol rioters actually came within 40 feet of where Pence was hiding. They were, if you remember, they were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." They were looking for him, and just who knows what would have happened had they found him. And so that's interesting, and the fact that they want to talk to Ginny Thompson. There are so many questions surrounding her.
Absolutely, and Ginny Thompson needs to be spoken to. Like you said, a lot of revelations happen from this, and one that I want to pick up actually is the emails from her pressing Arizona lawmakers. Like you said, it was a lot, and I want to just dive in on one. So she sent 29 state lawmakers in Arizona messages pretty much giving them the option to choose presidential electors, kind of pressing them, letting them know, hey, the choice is yours. You have the power to fight. But it kind of gave off a do the right thing, but if you don't do the right thing, there will be repercussions. And so consequences, And so that's the scary thing when you have a person of her stature who is also married to Clarence Thomas. You are sending messages like this, and it's a whole election that's going on right now. It's some sticky stuff going on, and she needs to be spoken to and definitely dive into a little bit more about this woman, because there's a lot of shadiness, it seems like, went on with her.
When you think about some of these testimonies, they're saying over 30 million people have viewed it so far, so people are definitely dialed in. You got to understand, our country was in a situation on January 6th that was unbelievable. People want to know the truth. We saw what we saw. We believe we know the truth, but we have to go through this process, right? And then when you hear steps about Donald Trump, when supposedly or allegedly he was on the phone with Vice President Mike Pence at the time, calling him a wimp. Like they said, the conversation started on speaker, then it went to a private phone call, but you can hear him maybe calling him a wimp. Like, this is the guy that's riding with you. He's your VP, and all of a sudden you're talking about hang Mike Pence, and you're calling him a wimp on top of that. So many more stories will come out for sure.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is that we must remember that Trump still poses a clear and present danger to American democracy. He's right now endorsing a bunch of candidates who are still spreading these lies. They're running for midterm elections. A lot of them are thinking of, furthering their political career, and we have to remember that we have to find a solution to getting him out of here, which for me would be an indictment, because there's nothing else. If you don't indict him, then you continue to give him a pass to continue to do what we're seeing.
Absolutely. You know, and even the text messages that she sent to Chief of Staff Mark Meadows at the time, another shady part as well, claiming that there was election fraud, like they all said, that there was watermarking of ballots. And so it really looks like she's kind of like a wingman, like more of a wingman, and way more active in what happened right after the election than what we thought she was. So definitely hope that there's a little bit more digging into Jeannie Thomas, because I'm not sure about her. A third of Republicans polled say they support the actions of Trump supporters who broke into the Capitol building during the insurrection. But the Global Strategy Group survey says majorities of Republicans don't like that the Capitol had to be evacuated. The findings show that the division within the GOP as the party enters the early stages of the 2024 presidential race, the party must also decide if it will follow former President Trump's lies about a stolen 2020 election or start a new path to the White House.
Vice President Kamala Harris is launching a new task force that will fight online harassment and abuse. The move comes as the White House tries to battle online extremism that has been blamed on the Buffalo grocery store massacre and other racist attacks. The task force will recommend ways for the federal government and private companies can work together to stop online threats and plots.
And Ukraine is getting more money from the United States to fight its war in Russia. President Biden ordering another $1 billion in weapons for Ukraine's army. Mr. Biden also announced another $225 million in humanitarian assistance for the Eastern European country.
This is the 12th time that President Biden has authorized presidential drawdowns to help Ukraine defend its democracy, and that brings the total amount of security assistance that we provided to Ukraine to approximately $5.6 billion just since Russia launched its assault in late February, and then approximately $6.3 billion since the beginning of the Biden-Harris administration.
Some critics say the United States is extending the length of the war by sending more and more cash to Ukraine for weapons. They say the only way to end the conflict is to end it through diplomacy. Aid to Ukraine. Okay, so in the United States right now, we've got inflation, high gas prices, looming recession, rent prices are, homelessness. Rent prices are high. You can't afford a home. There's a COVID spending bill that Biden administration has been trying to get passed that they haven't been able to get passed for more testing, vaccines. We're going to talk about this later, but there's also a free lunch program for kids that's about to come to an end. I just feel like there are so many more things that we could be doing with this money than sending it to Ukraine. I mean, right here in the United States, we have so many issues, so many problems, and a majority of Americans agree with me right now. Only 2 out of 10 adults say that Biden is leading the economy in the right direction.
You know, I would have typically agree with you, Mimi, but I feel like besides homelessness, when we talk about gas and inflation going up, when did gas and inflation start going up? Recently, after the war with Russia and Ukraine. We have to be honest, gas was not this high. So when you think about all the companies that BP, the different gas companies that we had to pull out because the U.S. had to stand firm, even President Biden saying recently that he is reaffirming that we are going to stand by Ukraine. And so with that, we had to pull out even McDonald's is renaming their company. We had to pull out so many of our resources out of Ukraine, out of Russia, because we had to stand firm with Ukraine. So as a result of that, what happened? We had to find other routes to get gas, other resources to get certain products. So inflation went up. So the gas went up. So if we think about it, it's all a full circle. If President Biden is putting more money into Ukraine, hopefully as a result, I think that he's like, if we put more money into them, they're going to look out for us. Hopefully we can get the gas back down and inflation can go back down. That's what I think in my mind.
Yeah, I don't think it works like that, though.
No.
I don't think it works like that. I mean, I think that the U.S. was headed towards a recession. The oil and the gas prices, that was already, creeping back up.
But not like this, though.
Maybe not like this. But the answer is not sending them more money. The answer is using that money here in the United States to make the U.S. better. Because here's the thing. The oil prices are affecting every nation, not just the United States.
Exactly.
So why are we the nation that is taking on this tremendous burden? Prices in the UK are going up. Prices in Germany are going up. You know, we need to make sure that we here at home, our prices and the things that we're dealing with are also taken care of before we take care of everything.
Right, but if the manufacturing places, though, Romeo, really quick, are not here in the U.S. and we have to get the resources out in Ukraine and Russia, and we had to, and it's affecting the world because everybody had to pick a side. So everyone's going to be affected as a result.
This is bigger than the gas prices. At the end of the day, like, you have to take care of home. We wonder, you say you don't have money for certain things. Like, Mimi just read a list off of things. You say you don't have money for in our own backyard, yet you could send millions, billions over there. People are sitting here saying, what do we gain from this? Like, in the end, what are we going to gain from it? I understand we want a relationship across the country, right? We're the freedom country, right? We want to do the right thing. But we're not doing the right thing at home. And the more and more I see you print money to send abroad, you could be taking care of things right here.
And experts are saying, though, Demi, that even with that being said, even with him sending money to help give them weapons, he is prolonging the war. Right. So we're still prolonging the problem.
I got it. But $1 billion here in the U.S. is not going to help everybody in the United States get more gas.
It's not about gas, though. It's about...
Yeah, it's bigger than gas.
It is much bigger than gas, but I feel like that $1 billion here in the United States is not going to cure all the inflation, not going to cure all the homelessness, not going to cure all the gas.
They got $54 billion.
I know.
$54 billion.
But the soundbite that we just heard, he just listed a bunch of billions of dollars that have been sent over to Ukraine, right? I mean, but just think about where that money could go here. It may not solve everything overnight, but it could put a dent in something.
But I feel like as of recent days, as of recent months, we've seen more of a dip as a result of what happened with Russia and Ukraine, because people have to choose a side. And I feel like Biden is not making these decisions by himself. Like, he's not the only person who's making these moves, right? So there has to be a method to the madness, and I feel like we should let President Biden do what he needs to do and see how this all plays out, because I don't think
have no choice.
We're in too deep now.
All right,
let's go.
All right, day 2 of the trial of the man accused of killing Nipsey Hussle continue with testimony from another man who was shot that afternoon. Kerry Lathan, who was shot in the back, was asked a variety of questions by prosecutors, but he didn't seem to want to get into specifics when it came to identifying who was at the shooting at one point. Now, prosecutors, they played a video that shows Lathan arriving at the rapper's clothing store, but Lathan would not even confirm that he was in the clip, saying, "I don't know anything. I don't see anything." There is a lot to this story. Okay, well, Romeo.
Well, African-American political leaders are applauding President Biden for his commitment to the LGBTQ community. President Biden hosted a reception at the White House yesterday to celebrate Pride Month. He signed new executive orders to ensure equality to LGBTQ Americans. It's a new legislation across predominantly Republican-led states aims to limit their rights. Now, many of the new laws target transgender Americans. Some of the president's executive orders include continued calls against conversion therapy. Additional orders are aimed at combating suicides among youth, increasing protection for LGBTQ parents and kids in the foster care system, and advocating for trans health procedures.
And while every state in America recognizes Juneteenth in some form, only 20 states, though, have passed a bill that makes it a paid holiday. The federal government made it a national holiday last year, but like Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, some states aren't recognizing it as a holiday. Alabama, Mississippi, and South Carolina, the states with the largest black populations, have still not advanced bills that close state office buildings. Now, Tennessee says there isn't enough support in their state to make it a holiday, but they still recognize Robert E. Lee Day and Confederate Declaration Day.
And a group of angry anti-CRT theory parents, drove a teacher out of her job, then brought her complaints to her new job in a neighboring county. Yeah, the anti-CRT parents drove Cecilia Lewis out of her job in Cherokee County, Georgia. Lewis was hired to work in the school district's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department. Hundreds of letters were sent by the parents to the Georgia County school system before she even moved to Georgia from Maryland. The group of white parents falsely claimed Lewis was there to teach critical race theory. Lewis left that job for another position in neighboring Cobb County. The anti-CRT parents tracked her to the next job. Lewis says that she quit that job after being given busy work that had nothing to do with what she was hired to do.
Black and Hispanic Americans suffer a higher rate of traffic fatalities than whites, according to a new report. Researchers at Boston and Harvard University found both groups had higher fatality rates when they were driving, walking, or riding a bike. Black people died while riding bicycles 4 times higher than the national average. The report says walking and riding bikes were more dangerous than driving a car. Structural racism is being blamed on the deaths. Underinvestment in bike lanes and street lights in black neighborhoods are some of the reasons for the fatalities.
The University of Houston is settling a federal lawsuit with a conservative group that accuses it of imposing a policy that violates free speech. The university policy bans the use of slurs, stereotypes, and other violations. The Speech First group, along with 3 University Houston students, sued the school, saying the anti-discrimination policy infringed on their First Amendment rights. A university spokesperson says while the school has revised its policy, it is still committed to protecting the constitutional rights of its students and employees.
Jury deliberations will continue today in the Bill Cosby civil lawsuit. A lawyer for Cosby told jurors in his trial they need to look past the years of accusations against the actor. Jennifer told the jurors in closing arguments today to concentrate on only the evidence in the Playboy Mansion sexual assault incident. Judy Huth says that Cosby sexually assaulted her at the Playboy Mansion when she was only 16 years old. But Huth did not come close to proving that her 50-year-old story. But Huth's lawyer said that his client deserves to have Cosby held accountable for what he did to her.
The key prosecutor in the trial of the cop who killed George Floyd is being nominated by President Biden for a seat on a federal court. If confirmed, Jerry Blackwell would sit on the U.S. District Court for the District of Minnesota. Blackwell, who is the founding partner of Blackwell Burke law firm, worked pro bono on the Chauvin case. Blackwell earned his law degree in 1987 from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
And a white Michigan officer charged with the murder of a black man was fired. Christopher Scher served 7 years on the Grand Rapids police force. He's charged with killing Patrick Loyola during a traffic stop for an unregistered license plate back in April. Now, body camera video showed Loyola trying to run away. The two struggled on the ground before Loyola was shot in the back of the head. The former officer claims the shooting was in self-defense, but he was charged with second-degree murder last week.
An Irish budget airlines is getting rid of a language requirement for Southern Africans traveling to the United Kingdom. Ryanair is making South African passengers pass a written test in AFRIKAANS before boarding a flight. That's the Dutch-based language that was forced on black South Africans when the Dutch colonized South Africa. Zulu is the most spoken language in South Africa. Black South Africans say being forced to speak a language connected to the country's racist history is triggering. The company says it used the test to identify England-bound travelers using fake South African passports.
A Los Angeles jury is deliberating on whether Suge Knight should pay the family of a man killed in 2015 $81 million in damages. Knight is the subject of a wrongful death lawsuit. Knight has been in prison for years in the death of Terry Carter. Suge ran Carter over with his truck in a parking lot next to the set of the film Straight Outta Compton. Knight claimed it was an accident that happened as a result of a confrontation with a reported former L.A. gang member. Now, Knight was sentenced to 28 years in prison after pleading guilty to Carter's death.
And 2 white Florida men are facing criminal charges after allegedly attacking a black teen in the same town where Trayvon Martin was killed. Now, this is footage posted on his social media account of the boy's father. It shows one of the men yelling at the young man who recorded the confrontation. The men were angry about how the teen was driving in their Sanford, Florida neighborhood. The young man says the men threw a rock at his car and yelled profanities, telling him to get out of their neighborhood.
Through my neighborhood, burning that racist through my neighborhood.
You not to. Get out of my face. I'm not in your face. Get out of my neighborhood.
Howard Hughes and Donald Corsi were arrested. They were charged with damaging property and battery. So clearly nothing has changed since the death of Trayvon Martin in that town. Let's be clear there. And by the size of that rock, you would think that they were trying to kill him. I mean, to throw a rock at a child, because he's a child, he's 16 years old, to throw a rock at in a child's car, you know, and I can't help but think, had he been white, that this would have been very, very difficult, very, very different.
Agreed.
And the other thing that stands out is that there was a neighbor, there was a lady who came out of her home, and instead of like, are you okay, seeing this big gash in his window, she held up her phone and was yelling at him to also get out of her neighborhood.
You know, this is, like you said, nothing has changed, but I don't even know if it matters that it's Trayvon Martin's neighborhood. I don't think the white men that approached him even care that it's the same place that Trayvon Martin used to live. More importantly, I'm really happy that he took the video of this and posted it to social media, because I don't even know if I would be brave enough to post, because I would be afraid of so many things, retaliation upon things. So the fact that he was brave enough to post the video to social media, and that we're even thinking in that realm now, to be able to, like, this is something that I need to record. I'm happy that he was thinking
prove
like that.
Yeah, I mean, 16 years old in this situation, and I don't think they're like really aimed at the back seat. What if they hit the front seat of the driver's side? This could be a whole different story that we're talking about, right? So it's so unfortunate, and again, it just shows what our country is in when it comes to racism. There's a big issue, and you cannot deny it, and you cannot hide it, and this is living proof.
It's living proof, and to your point, Demi, I definitely, you know, what's sad about this is that if we don't have the video nowadays, people don't believe that it happened. You have to work harder to prove that you were assaulted, that something happened to you. So I think now that's the first thing that people go to, is to pull out their phones to record stuff, just because you need, as a black person, to be a black body, you need the proof to say that something happened to you. That's just the world we live in. So, you know, it's just very sad. And then I just, you know, it reminds me of the story that we did yesterday with the 16-year-old who was executed in 1931. This is 2022. It is literally almost the same.
Yeah, you're right.
You know?